Mini Desktop Racing was released for the PlayStation 2 back in 2005, and it got a later port on the Nintendo Wii and the Windows PC in 2007. And this is a budget type of racing game, but it also takes massive inspiration from the likes of the top-down type of cartoony style racers like Micro Machines, and even likes of Supersonic Racers, and a lot of games similar to it back on the PS1. Now, if you've ever been familiar or if you've ever played the Micro Machines games, you would understand what I mean. As Micro Machines, especially if you've played Micro Machines V3 on the PS1, that was considered to be one of the best multiplayer games on the system, as it was one of the first games to utilise the support of the 4-player multi-tap accessory, so you could play with your friends on 4-player split screen mode, and it was a really cool game. But you had access to a load of different modes where you could race anything on the likes of snooker tables to garden ponds to kitchen tables, loads of different types of environments. So with Mini Desktop Racing, it has a lot to try and live up to, but where does it compare to the likes of Micro Machines and other games that were similar to it back on the PS1 and even on other consoles? Well, unfortunately, that's probably the best part of it, is the fact is that it is inspired by them. Now, the game itself, there's not much really known about it online, and from what I have been able to find of it myself, there was very poor advertising around the game. So the game, for most people, is relatively unknown, as very few people even know that the game even exists. But those that have gotten reviews about it criticise the game due to its poor presentation, and the fact is that it reuses the same graphics engine as other budget games that were also released by the same developers, mainly like Off-Road Extreme and other types of games. But where the game was really criticised was its poor controls, and I for one can attest to that, because the gameplay itself, if you can get the hang of it, it does have decent enough graphics. The main problem with the game is the controls and even the collision detection. Like, you're driving Mini Coopers, which, I'll be honest, personally I love cars, but I actually love Minis as well. I think they're a cool little car, and it's a cool concept, and the fact is that it takes inspiration from Micro Machines is a really good idea, but it's just not executed as well as it could have been. As the gameplay, it is fast paced, but the control system and the collision detection really doesn't do it any justice, as the collisions can be awful at best, where you can get stuck in the environments and it completely hampers your progress. But not only that, the handling is so sensitive. There's no options available in the game to be able to adjust it in any way, shape or form to allow for a more pleasant driving experience. It's so twitchy and very fiddly. The slightest little input on the controller can have you nearly doing a 360 spin on the spot, and even when you're trying to go over jumps, there's certain elements in the environment where there's obstacles in the way that really shouldn't be there. Some of the level design ideas, in my own personal opinion, are quite poor at best, as even when you're driving on certain levels you can have likes of rulers going from one table to the next, and the problem with it is sometimes they don't fully emphasize the path that you're supposed to take, because you can fall off very easily. But sometimes even when you do go on one of the rulers, you can get stuck on it, or it can make you fall off because it's not adjusted properly to give you enough speed to really take care of a jump that's coming up on the level. So that can leave it very frustrating. And then to make it worse is that the computer AI is ridiculously difficult, because they're already pretty much the race won within the space of the first lap before you've even gotten anywhere close past the first couple of corners, because you'll have fallen off so many times, and which is a pity. But the other downside as well is with the layouts of the tracks, as even though they are based on types of desktops, but they're all based around office type of environments, and it pretty much uses the same type of environment over and over again on each of the tracks. It's just the layout is slightly different, and that in itself can lead the game to become quite lackluster and even boring to the most part. And couple that with the glitchy controls, it doesn't leave for an overly good experience, which is a pity, because from playing it you can clearly see that this game did have potential, but it just was really poorly executed, and it could have been a lot better. If it had the same handling physics and characteristics to that of the Micro Machines games, this would have been a better overall game. If the handling wasn't as twitchy and the collision detection was better, this would have been a better game, and it's just a pity that it just wasn't executed the way it could have been. But if you are looking for these type of games and you would like to try them, you could try it for a playthrough to see what you think, but in most cases it will probably frustrate the hell out of you and you'll just end up avoiding it altogether. But if you are looking for something a wee bit different and you want to see what this game looks like, you can go ahead, but it really just all boils down to your own preferences as the player. player, but in most cases for most gamers you probably will end up avoiding it, which is quite a shame because it really had some really good potential, but it just was really lacking in a lot of areas and it was just poorly executed. A game that offered so much but yet at the same time could have been better, but I'll leave that up to you. And I would love to know your thoughts on mini desktop racing for the PlayStation if you have played it back in the day, and if so, what are your thoughts on it? Do you enjoy these type of desktop style racing games that were very similar to Micro Machines? And what did you think of this game in particular? Did you enjoy it, or did you find it equally as frustrating as I did? I'd love to hear what you think of this game, so be sure to share it down in the comments below. So if you have enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more content around more of these type of quirky racing games that were released on the system where I share my thoughts and experience with everyone, then make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be updated when future videos are released. And if you would like to see more videos around similar type of racing games that were released on the PS2, be sure to check out the playlists below in the description and even here on the screen to see more of those games in action. So be sure to check them out, and I will see you all over in the next one.